History, as they say, is written by the victors. It's a nice little phrase, isn't it? Almost comforting. Except when you realize it means that for every glorious victory trumpeted in textbooks, there's a dirty little secret swept under the rug. A secret someone didn't want you to know. We're taught about wars and revolutions, about great leaders and groundbreaking inventions. But what about the stories that get left out? The massacres, the conspiracies, the inconvenient truths that challenge the narrative. These aren't just footnotes in the grand scheme of things. They're vital pieces of the puzzle, revealing the true, often unsettling nature of our past. And folks, it's time we started talking about them. Because history isn't just about remembering dates and names, it's about understanding the forces that have shaped our world, for better or for worse. And sometimes those forces are downright shady. So buckle up, because we're about to take a deep dive into the dark side of history. The stuff they didn't teach you in school. Let's start with a little-known event called the Tulsa Race Massacre. In 1921, a thriving black community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street, was systematically destroyed. A mob of white residents, fueled by racist rumors and economic jealousy, attacked the black community, burning homes and businesses to the ground. Thousands were left homeless, and an estimated 300 people were killed. What happened in Tulsa wasn't just a riot, it was a massacre. And yet for decades it was barely a whisper in history books. Evidence was buried, witnesses were silenced, and the story was largely erased from public memory. Why? Because acknowledging the Tulsa Massacre means acknowledging the deep-seated racism woven into the fabric of American history. It means confronting the uncomfortable truth that even the most prosperous black communities were not safe from white violence. But we can't afford to keep sweeping these stories under the rug. Remembering the Tulsa Massacre isn't about dwelling on the past, it's about learning from it. It's about acknowledging the enduring legacy of racism and fighting for a more just future. Next up, we travel to World War II, but not to the battlefields you're thinking of. We're going to Japan, to a secret military facility known as Unit 731. This wasn't your average military base. This was a place where unspeakable atrocities were committed in the name of science. We're talking biological warfare experiments on human beings. Prisoners of war, mostly Chinese and Korean, were infected with diseases, dissected alive, and subjected to unimaginable horrors. But here's the kicker. After the war, instead of being held accountable for their crimes, many members of Unit 731 were granted immunity by the United States in exchange for their research data. That's right, the very people responsible for some of the most horrific war crimes in human history were allowed to walk free, their knowledge deemed more valuable than justice. The story of Unit 731 is a chilling reminder that the line between science and barbarity can be terrifyingly thin. It's a story that forces us to confront the dark side of human nature and the lengths to which power will go to protect its own. Section 4. America's Secret Experiments, MK Ultra and Beyond. Now let's turn our attention a little closer to home. Because while the United States was busy condemning Japan for its wartime atrocities, it was also engaging in some pretty shady business of its own. Enter MK Ultra, the CIA's mind control program in the 1950s and 60s. This top-secret operation involved dosing unsuspecting Americans with LSD and other drugs in an attempt to develop mind control techniques. But MK Ultra was just the tip of the iceberg. The U.S. government has a long and disturbing history of conducting secret experiments on its own citizens, often without their knowledge or consent. From deliberately exposing soldiers to radiation to testing biological agents on unsuspecting civilians, the pursuit of knowledge has often come at a heavy human cost. These weren't just isolated incidents, they were part of a pattern of secrecy and abuse of power. And while some argue that these experiments were necessary for national security, others see them as a betrayal of public trust and a violation of basic human rights. Section 5. The Forgotten Empires of Africa Erased from History. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about what we don't learn in history class. Specifically, the vast and vibrant history of Africa. We're taught about ancient Egypt, sure, but what about the other great empires that rose and fell across the continent? Empires like Mali with its legendary ruler Mansa Musa, who's believed to have been the wealthiest person in human history, or the Songhai Empire, which stretched across West Africa and boasted renowned centers of learning like Timbuktu. These civilizations were architectural marvels, economic powerhouses, and centers of art, culture, and scholarship. And yet, they're often relegated to footnotes in our history books if they are mentioned at all. Why? Because the narrative of African history has often been shaped by colonialism, which sought to portray the continent as backwards and uncivilized. But the truth is, Africa has a rich and complex history that deserves to be celebrated and explored. Section 6. The CIA's Puppet Show, Coups and Cover-Ups. Now let's talk about the CIA. We all know they're the folks who are really good at keeping secrets. But sometimes those secrets have a way of coming out. And when they do, they often reveal a disturbing truth about America's role in the world. Take, for example, the CIA's involvement in the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat. The democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, made the fatal mistake of nationalizing the country's oil industry, which was then largely controlled by British interests. The British and the Americans weren't too keen on that, so the CIA orchestrated a coup installing the Shah of Iran as a pro-Western dictator. The Shah's brutal regime would eventually be overthrown in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, leading to the Islamic Republic we know today. And Iran wasn't an isolated incident. The CIA has a long and sordid history of meddling in the affairs of other countries, often propping up dictators and undermining democratically elected governments in the name of fighting communism or protecting American interests. From Guatemala to Chile to Vietnam, the CIA's fingerprints can be found on countless coups, assassinations, and covert operations. These actions have had a profound and often devastating impact on the lives of millions of people around the world, shaping the geopolitical landscape we live in today. The story of the CIA is a story of power, intrigue, and the often blurry line between national security and outright meddling. It's a story that should give us all pause and make us question the true cost of American foreign policy. Like if you learned something, subscribe for more.